Okay, well, we're ready to go. Thank you. Ready and we're back. My apologies.
No problem. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the White County Board of Education special called meeting on Thursday, June 1st, 2023. This time I would like to ask Mr. Dwayne Howard to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone who is joining us tonight, members of the community, whether you're here in person or whether you're joining us on our live stream. Also, our board members, appreciate you coming out tonight. We do note that joining us tonight via telephone is Mr. Adam Hickey, and so he'll be participating virtually. The review of our meeting tonight will fall under the policies and guidelines set forth by the state that we meet under. So this is an open meeting to have opportunity for public to engage the board if they so choose, and we would recognize them at an appropriate time. So tonight's meeting is specifically on the approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget beginning July 1st. We reviewed the budget was presented to us last week in a meeting, and appreciate Mr. Drombarger, Ms. Alley, and Mr. Markham for putting that together. Board members, we've had a week to review the information, and coming tonight we will have discussion and deliberation on the budget with the intent to pass the budget that then can be presented to the county commission. I think it's coming up Monday, this coming Monday. So anyway, we'll get into that. So last week when we came together, we reviewed the general purpose school fund, Fund 141. We also reviewed the school nutrition fund, and in the course of our discussion of Fund 141, the general purpose school fund, we were presented with new proposed salary scales for certified teachers and administrators, and then a proposed salary scale for our support staff. So what I would like to do tonight is for us to bring those forward, and that being part of our agenda when we get into approving reviewing the budget. So just a little outline of how we're gonna go this meeting. But before we do that, this time I'd like to get into item number 4, and that's disclosure of conflicts of interest. So if anyone has disclosures, conflicts of interest they wish to be made known, please do so now.
Mr. Chairman, as everyone knows, my wife is a teacher in the school system, but I'd like to make it well known that all my statements, my interest, and my goals is to help the school system overall with no conflict of interest whatsoever about any type of personal gain for my wife. And I don't know how to say it. Mr. Yeah, McDonald can say it a whole lot better than me. But anyway, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Mr. Chairman, I will state the same as Mr. Howard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hickey. So let it be known that Mr. Howard and Mr. Hickey both have spouses that work in our school system. But tonight there's nothing on the agenda that would be of direct conflict of interest for them, as per stated in the definition of conflict of interest by board policy. So thank you both on that. So next we'll get to item 5, and that is discussion and approval of the fiscal year 2024 proposed school budget. As I mentioned in last week's meeting, we had proposed salary scale for certified teachers and administrators and proposed salary scale for support staff. I think it'd be in order that we go on record of having approved each salary scale, because by doing so, then that would be reflected in the budget that we're proposing. That would tie those two documents to that. We were presented with a salary scale that dates back to July 1st of 2023, so approximately 10 years ago. So the salary scales that we were given last week would then become in effect. So that is how I think we'd be best served to proceed with this. So with that, I would ask that we do these separately. So this time I would entertain a motion for the approval of the certified teachers and administrators salary scale as presented for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023. I have a motion by Ms. Hastings. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Any discussion on the certified teachers and administrator proposed salary scale?
Mr. Chairman, I've been in favor of our teachers and, excuse me, administrators getting increases ever since I've been sitting here. My first question is how much total increases is going to be on our budget when we look at this pay scale? What is if I looked at it right, we've got about a $2 million increase from last year. Is that correct?
That's approximate in pay, in salaries, yes, in salaries and benefits, it's about a $2 million increase for faculty and staff.
You know, the thing that I'm getting at right here is the sustainability of this. We all need to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and will this put a burden coming next year about any of our projects, any of our desires that we want to see accomplished over next year, 2 or 3 years right there? Will this say, hey, you know, because as our schedule shows right now, you know, we're running a deficit until other funds come in. I understand that. But still, my question was, and boy, you know, I'm gonna sound like the bad guy, but I want to reiterate that I want teachers to have an increase right here. But what is the average increase per teacher? Has that been broken down? Chad, you know, we got like 315 teachers. What would be the average increase?
The average salary next year is going to be around $56,000 for a teacher. We're bringing up the starting salary to $45,000. The average salary increase, I would think, I don't have that right. I've not got the number calculated. I would think it would be around $4,000 or so.
Around 4,000. Yeah, and well deserved. Our teachers well deserve that. But you know, $2 million is a huge jump. How many pennies, if we were going to break that down as a comparison,
well,
on property taxes?
If I can just state, I think that the thought process of this was the reoccurring allocations that we're getting from the state of Tennessee. So the state is increasing our allocations by $4 million a year, and that's a recurring allocation. And so those funds are what is funding this increase and will be used to fund that increase going forward in salaries.
So just about every bit of this will be coming from the state?
All of it will.
All
So
of it
the
will.
state through the TISA funding formulas is giving us around $4 million, give or take a few $100,000.
Okay.
And that is recurring as we go throughout the years. And so if you look at the bottom line on the budget, from last year, we passed a budget under the BEP funding formula.
Mm-hmm.
And last year's budget, we had a budgeted deficit of just about $2.4 million. That has been through the funding increase from the state, we've brought that down by about $600,000. And as compared to last year, we've added $400 additional thousand dollars in our capital outlay. And so right now, we're projecting a $1.8 million budgeted deficit. Again, that's a budgeted deficit. We don't anticipate that's really what it'll be. But we have brought down that budgeted deficit by $600,000 and increased our capital outlay by $400,000 over last year. So there's $1 million right there of the $4 million.
So I tried to line this up. There will not be any future that you could see increase in property taxes or for the county for the teacher's salary increase here.
That's certainly not the intent, and I don't think that, next year that we would be in a position where we would have some issue like that. I mean, you might run into an issue if the state changes its allocation. The state has talked about continuing to raise the base salary rate for teachers and above what we are at. And so when we get into that, if the state doesn't fund that, then you might run into an issue, but it would be some kind of external force that would require something like that, if at all possible.
Okay. Hey, that sounds great. Our teachers deserve it. Okay. Are we talking about just teacher salaries right now or any maintenance support staff coming next?
So this first motion is for the salary scale for certified teachers and administrators. Then the next, we'd follow support staff scale. That was the second one that was presented to us. That would come under a separate motion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the proposed salary scale for certified teachers and administrators signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, have the proposed salary scale for support staff. So this time I would entertain a motion for approval of the proposed salary scale for support staff for fiscal year beginning July 1st as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Hastings. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to make note that on the new version of the budget you were given tonight, on the inside cover, there are the changes that were proposed at the last meeting. One of those was a change in a reduction in one of the support staff salaries and benefits. So that's on the bottom of that page. That was the board secretary's administrative assistant salary. So just wanted to make note that that reduction was made as it pertains to this motion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stromberg. So we did have discussion in the last meeting and that about the one particular position, the amount of salary that was in the budget that was presented to us, and that was reduced to be reflected in this where it tops out per our new support staff scale. Is that correct? Okay. So that change was being made. So that position would fall in line to the salary pay scale as was presented. So there'd be no outliers.
I feel like she's ready.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions here. On the new additions for the HR contributions, 662 per county department, what does that mean, Chad? Is that school system one department, the county the rest of the second department, or what departments are they?
I just updated this, the HR department is funded through the county general fund, and then at the end of the year that's split. And so I just provided an updated estimate for next year's budget for the HR department, which would increase the school system share by $662. That's a budgeted number, so that may not be that much typically. But
And that's a Fund 141 item.
Yes.
So that is not support staff scale impacted item.
Mr. Chairman, one other question here, and boy, don't want to individualize this budget as much as possible and don't wanna bring anyone out, but, I have to bring this up to be justify my conscience and to be a good steward, hopefully, Mr. Alley's increase in pay is $12,000 a year with this new pay scale. And that's gonna be higher than a 30-year tenure teacher with a doctorate. So, are we sure we wanna do that? I mean, that just seems too high to me. I don't know what all he does, I don't know, so I was told at last meeting that, he's under a separate scale. I don't know how he was arrived at that scale right there. If I broke it down right in my figures, at 52 weeks a year, 40 hours a week right there, that comes down to about $38 an hour that he's gonna be making. And if I understand right, he is the only other person that's on an annual pay scale. So, I mean, that's why I can be corrected in any of these questions right here. But, $79,000 and a senior teacher with 30 years experience with a doctorate, $74,000. I just feel like that's too high. For me, if there's any other interested, I'd make a motion that we cut it in half. If the average pay increase is gonna be around $4,000, I think $6,000 increase this year, and look at it a couple more years. But now I'm looking at everybody else, and everybody else is going, oh, no. So, what everybody thinks.
Well, I would speak to that. I think on that, so he is on a different salary scale from,
Well, there's a supervisor scale, and so everybody in this entire process falls on that scale, depending on their degree, their level of degree, and their years of service. And so that's where Mr. Alley falls on that scale. So he's not on a separate scale of his own. He falls within the supervisor's ranks. One could argue that we've maybe underpaid our supervisors, for some time. We've rolled that schedule out to 16 years, so you can have up to 15 years of experience, which is something that didn't happen before. You just got a raise, you got hired on at a certain rate, and if you got an increase, you got an increase, but there was no scheduled increases for our supervisors. And so supervisors are in charge of a lot of people. He's responsible for two very important departments, our transportation department, which in most systems, a lot of systems nowadays, is its own individual. It's one person that does that, and that's the sole job that they do. But he's also in charge of our maintenance department, which oversees every building and a crew. So he has probably 50 or 60 people under his charge. So I can see that's a big jump, but I think as we make the argument that maybe we were underpaying a lot of individuals, maybe not just Mr. Alley, in this process. We're going to see some teachers that take some massive jumps as well because of their level of degree and their years of service. So he's not on a special scale. That's where he falls on that scale. But it is large, and a lot of folks are going to see larger jumps than others. Some people that we're doing, being paid a little better, maybe in their particular by their degree or years of service, won't see quite as big a jump. But all of them will fall on the scale where they fall, and then they all have the opportunity to grow. Where you said like someone with a doctorate before would top out at 19, 20 years, but now they can roll on out to 30, and we'll have pay increases reflected in that.
Would you share with me what page that scale's on, that Mr. Alley's on?
it's actually on the teachers and administrators page.
Which we just
looked
dealt
at.
with. It's the next to last page in that packet.
I can't find it either.
It's the one that says certified teachers and administrators.
Certified.
And this says supervisor certified.
Okay. So how many years does Mr. Alley have?
I do not know that. I'd have to look that up.
97,160 would be, or 79. I'm just guessing. I just didn't see a scale that his figure fit in, and there's, with all these different lines, there's a possibility. 79,915. Still don't see it. Where the figure-
I imagine that 79,912 is the,
7 year.
is what I'm imagining that is, that figure that, the 915, I think it's 79,912.
7 years certified supervisor on
Well,
240 days.
I have to be accountable for people that ask me, so that's why I ask here.
He has a lot of responsibility, and he's not the only 12-month employee. That we have a number of others, but
Who are they?
I'm one. We have our ROTC folks, I think, are going to 11 months now, but they have been in the past. Band, I can't remember if he's 11 or 12 months. Of course, all of our support staff are 12 months, you know, not all of them, no, that's not true. All of maintenance, all of our custodians, there's a number of employees that are 12 months as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, so Mr. Alley would have been under our first motion?
Correct. Under supervisor.
Okay, just that.
So just, would take, just cruise through that on this, this scale, just so we're all on the same page. Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the proposed sales gallery for support staff for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, did you mean to say 2024?
No, fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023.
Thank you.
Okay. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you. Next, we want to look at our general purpose school fund. That's Fund 141, and that was presented to you. You actually have a hard copy of the revised with the changes that were made since our last meeting. They were proposed from our workshop on May 25th. Those are on the back page of the cover sheet, where there is an increase in revenue. Revenue has been reduced by a nominal number of $413. We had additions in expenditures, other charges, $10,000 added for band uniforms, then a $662 added for our human resources contribution, and then we've had reductions in personnel. Bless you. Personnel that was proposed last meeting to get that in line with our pay scale. So take this opportunity to, if we want to have some discussion on this, just in general before we go and entertain any motion. Just open the floor for that now. In fact, actually go around the table. Mr. Howard.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for bringing this up again. There's many things in this budget that I still don't completely understand. It's still a mystery to me of how it starts, how it ends, the goal, the purpose behind it. Just like this new teacher's certified salary scale. I mean, how long you been working on that? Or could we have seen that months ago? Could we have had a budget meeting and said, hey, this is something we're proposing right here. This is something we're going to be looking at budget time. You know, just things like that just overwhelms me and makes me question everything and gives me a sense of not trust. And I know that's not fair, but that's just what I feel inside of me. And I guess I'm dumb enough to say what I feel inside of me. So I don't know to say anything except just pass.
Okay, Ms. Stone, any thoughts, comments on budget that was presented last week?
No, I was just kinda looking at it. I am kinda, wondering, you know, a teacher that has 30 years with a doctorate, I wouldn't think 74,000 would actually be enough in comparison to everything else. Because, you know, there's nothing more important to, and I don't think that a teacher that's went to all the effort to go through all the education, get a doctorate degree, I would think there should be more possibility for them to make more. And maybe somebody that didn't go to all that schooling to maybe get less. But, if the rest of the board thinks the budget's good, I will support it.
Thank you.
If I
Ms.
could,
Stone.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I think in a lot of these conversations, we've worked really hard. Mr. Alley and Miss Alley and Mr. Markham and I have met. We have met for several months regularly, working through these things. I think at this point we feel that you know, this is a really good faith effort to put this TISA money to work and to help raise across the board, raise salaries for our faculty and staff. Doesn't necessarily have to be the final say, but I think this is the first effort to say this is where we want to kind of put our money where our mouth is and show some respect to our folks. And then, you know, there's possibility of, like Mr. Howard was saying, that's, you know, to talk over the course of the next year and look at it and say, are there adjustments that need to be made, and are there some things that, you know, that could be done differently? It's a big task, and we've spent a lot of time working on it, but it's not necessarily has to be written in stone. So, you know, it's something we can discuss. We've made a similar effort with coaching supplements. We did a lot of work with that, and we have a good framework in place. We feel confident that we have a good system in place. Does it need to be tweaked, you know, moving forward? Maybe, but this initial stab, we felt like this was a really good effort to show, you know, our faculty and staff that we respect them and try and reward them financially. And then, honestly, we don't know where the TISA funding's going. We know what we're getting this year, but nobody's been through a TISA cycle yet. So this will be the first year. So as we go through and we see what it's going to look like month to month as they pull our attendance and base our salary off of that, then maybe we'll know, you know, this time next year how we can better adjust for that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lombard. Ms. Haston?
I agree with Kurt as far as I'm glad we're actually using this piece of money to show our staff that, you know, we could have done anything with this money. And so I feel like that we are on the right track as far as giving back. Like I said the other night, we feel like we kicked this can down the road, and I realize there's some questions about some people getting a larger salary, but in some positions, that's more than one position. So if you broke that down, I know you're discussing Mr. Alley, and I know what we pay our supervisors. Technically, you're taking two positions there. So if we split that up and we hire two different people, then we're looking at more than that, I guarantee you, because I know as far as what we're paying is for our supervisors. But I'm glad that we're actually putting it to good use. And as far as the budget-wise, I know you always have questions about the budget and the budget meeting. And I know I'm very vocal, and I know you are too, but listen, in any shape, form, or fashion throughout the year, so we get this budget now. So I look at it and I see it, and I feel like some things could change. If you think for one moment that I don't call both of these people, you've lost your mind. I call them. If I have any questions throughout the entire year, I call them. And Chad, I've worked with Chad for so many years, and I've said this 100 times at a bunch of different meetings. I feel like we could not have anybody better in this position. I've worked when we had other people in that position that I wish we hadn't had Chad in that position. And I fully trust Chad and appreciate everything he does, but I feel like that we're going in the right track.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Haston. Mr. Hickey?
discussed last week, but definitely want to thank all the people involved in helping with the budget. I know they do a lot of work and try to do a lot of things, and definitely excited to finally get some staff members, a little bit of money they deserve for a while, and definitely don't want to be in that progress. I know some that do, but I do not. That's not the board's job. We want to view that, and we want to approve that if we think that is correct. But definitely glad that we have people that we pay and respect to make those decisions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hickey. No, I likewise, I certainly appreciate the concern Mr. Howard brought up about the sustainability of pay scales, and obviously something that we want to watch. I think we're fortunate, and I appreciate the effort going into how do we handle the influx of cash that we will be receiving from the state, because it does appear to me, if my math's right, that 50% of that funds are actually going to the teachers, and so I think that's from the proposal that we're looking at, I think that's going the right direction, as Ms. Hastings said. So I appreciate that. From Ms. Stone's standpoint about the pay scale, when you get up to when you're in the higher degrees, that was actually something I reached out to Mr. Drombarger and asked, how many teachers in our district do we have that actually have doctorate degrees? We have 3, and I think that's pretty remarkable. Most people with doctorate degrees are not going to be teaching in rural school districts. They're going to be teaching up the road at in Cookeville or Knoxville or Nashville. That's typically how that works. So that, while I understand, I think that impact would be very small. And then you also have to consider the fact that just because you have a doctorate degree, the system in and of itself can only stand so much from salary scales. So I appreciate that. I think when you look at where we were from a budget last year versus where we are this year, if I'm not mistaken, it seems like we're moving the budget by about 5%, if my math's correct. But it's if it was plus or minus on that side, I think that would still be sustainable for what we know we're going to be looking at from a revenue standpoint this year. And the fact that I do think we need to compliment again Mr. Drombarger, Ms. Alley, Mr. Markham. I don't think it should go unnoticed that we have put $1.5 million back in our general purpose fund balance from this year. So it doesn't concern me as much when we say, as far as a deficit budget, that knowing that there will be federal funds that will be coming in over the next few months that will go to that, and just how our administration has demonstrated good stewardship in that. The one thing in the budget that when I was looking at and that I would want to bring up is when we go through and we look at staff, and you see the compensation increases that some will be receiving, I do not feel that it's justified for probably an average of 10% on salary increases across the board, and we just give our director 2. That, to me, that's not reflective of the work that's been done for this year. Again, I go back to the financial stewardship that was demonstrated, and that money is going back in general fund balance. You know, from a composite score on his director's evaluation, it was a 3.12, and that was full board composite scores. And so I would, at this time, I would like to make a motion that we increase the compensation for our director for this year to equal the federal COLA cost of living increase, which is 8.7%. That would at least get it in line to cost of living increase. It wouldn't be something that would say we're looking to go out and make this position the highest in the district. Based on what the data shows from the latest data that I have from 2021, 2022 school year, we were paying about 5th highest in the district on neighboring counties. So I would like to make a motion that we move the director's salary increase from 2% to 8.7%, reflecting cost of living increases. So
8.7, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
8.7%. So I have a motion, do I have a second?
I just, question, sorry.
Okay, yes.
So, what, you said that we're not up to the,
So per contract, the annual increase per contract is 2%. And my motion is to move that from 2% to 8.7%. In numbers wise, that would be a current salary of $101,671 and 56 cents to what my calculations show me as $1,010 and $517. Actually, $516.99.
Could you repeat that?
The numbers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the motion would be moving current salary of $101,671.56 and moving that to 8.7% increase, which would be $110,516.99.
and that would put us up to with the cost of living raise?
That would be, in effect, cost of living raise per the Social Security cost of living increase. So I have a motion, waiting for a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Ms. Haston. Now for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to start. Due to the past year's conflict of a lot of things with agriculture, the Christian community with books, baccalaureate service, I don't think the community would support that. So I'm gonna be against it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other comments?
I'm against it also.
Okay, we'll give any comments, we'll vote in a second.
8.7, that would be, moving his salary up over $9,000 a year.
I just did, yeah,
Yes.
I just,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be approximate.
Okay, like I said, I think that's a pretty good size increase. And you said in this, it's a 2% increase from?
Right now it is 2% increase, correct. That's per contract. Okay,
Can I
any
say
other
something?
comments?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have all the information with me as far as numbers and things like that, but did we do an increase last year? Is that correct?
Yes, we did an increase last year. If I'm not mistaken, that increase last year was, bear with me just 1 second. Last year's increase was 6.3%, which if I'm not mistaken was in line with cost of living adjustments for 2022. Anything else, Mr. Hickey? I apologize that you're...
No, that's what I need to know.
Okay. Ms. Hayes? Any comments?
I was just making sure that was the cost of, get us to the cost of living.
Okay. Again, I just want to bring forward as Mr. Howard has some concern in the opposite way. It does resonate with me, the financial stewardship that's being demonstrated through the work of monies going back into the general fund. When Mr. Stromberg came on board, we had a healthy fund balance and in our account, and we have done a lot of expansion, a lot of capital projects. And the fact that being able to do that in a way that we're able to add back to that resonates well with me. As far as the evaluation score that was given, composite, and especially in the areas of financial stewardship, scored well. This is not a proposed increase that would be, it's what I figured is less than what we're offering other staff and members of our district. And then also just trying to put it in line with our region, our district in line with the region from various data from school superintendents and median salary for districts our size. National median salary increase for a district our size is $180,000 per year. So I think at the end of the day, whether it's Mr. Drombarger here or somebody else, we want to make it attractive. We want, just like we want to attract good talent to work in our district as far as teachers, administrators, support staff. We also want to make sure that leadership is attracted to work in our district too. And so that was the justification for my motion. So,
Mr. Young, could I say something?
yes, ma'am.
Well, I was looking, the teachers didn't get that increase last year, correct, of the 6.3%? And you said he got a cost of living raise last year, but the teachers and the other staff didn't?
I cannot speak to that.
Because I wasn't here, I don't know.
Yeah, they just got a flat dollar amount.
We didn't get, I don't remember how we did that last year. I don't recall it.
Instead of percentage last year.
I don't think that we did 15,000 or 1,500 because we were going into TSA and we didn't know how that.
I think 1,000.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. Last year, Mr. Dromberger got a 6.3 increase, and if we do 8.7, we're talking about over a period of 2 years, like a 15% increase, correct?
That would be correct.
Now, I'm new to this. Now, his contract was for how long, and did we set it with an increase in his contract?
Yes, ma'am. There is an automatic 2% increase in his contract annually.
Annually, that's where that comes from. Okay, I wasn't sure where all that came from. I was just looking for the numbers.
Not a
Thank you.
problem.
Mr. Young, I appreciate everyone's comments and everyone's concern and everything. I relate this back simply to who I represent. I represent the people that elected me, and that's the communities. And that's the stewardship that I will be supporting on this issue. And so that's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Almer, would you want to speak?
No, I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the board's conversation, even to have that as a conversation. It's not something I'm seeking as, formally asking for a raise, but certainly, open to that if that's the board's choosing. I appreciate it very much. I have studied that, and I like to think over the past 7 years, I've proven my abilities. I've proven the fact that I can run a school system well, and I've proven that I can handle a budget well. And I've tried to reward our faculty and staff accordingly. If you look at salary scales, I can point out that White County is the 62nd largest district in the state, and my salary is about 120th. So you can make an argument about what the job is worth and what it pays, but and as we look at the salary scales that the board has already approved tonight, some of our supervisors with similar or less education that I have will be making similar to what I make, and as the CEO of the organization. So, but at any rate, I appreciate the board's willingness to even discuss it, and I'm just happy to serve, and just thank you for your comments.
Mr. Young, the 8.7, was that just?
No, that's what, that was cost of living that was published by the Social Security Administration in January of this year. That's what I found. I confirmed that there's on the Federal Registry too, that was the number.
Well, if we look at what we added last year and then come up with a number I would be willing to look at some number in between there, but, like I said, it seems like 15% over 2 years is a significant jump, but that's where I'm at.
Sure. So,
I know
you could.
I know everybody, like I said, all the teachers and the support staff and everybody got additional money. And like you say, the director didn't get as big an increase as a lot of people, but I'm sure, heaven knows I wouldn't want his job. I'm sure a real headache, but I just feel like that might be a little excessive for over the 2 years.
So I think how you could do this, so you could make a motion to suggest another amount. And I guess I could go back and amend my motion to reflect that amount if that passed.
I will pass that on down. As somebody that's been on this board a lot longer than I have, I just think 15% was a little excessive.
Okay, but you're saying 15% over 2 years?
2 years, yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll just discuss it out. Adam, is there anything you would want to add?
Yeah, I think, of course, I don't have all the exact numbers in front of me here, but I'm kind of on the same page with Ms. Stone as far as if you look at both years, and I definitely am for a better increase than 2%. But if you look at it from last year to this year, maybe we do need to amend that just a little bit.
Okay. Ms. Haston?
I definitely think that we need to amend this, and I was just gonna buy if that was the cost of living raise, I feel like, at least every year, everybody should at least get the cost of living. So, but I'm for amending if they want to, make another motion for a different percentage and amend yours.
So, just in discussion, is there a percent, does somebody have a percentage in mind?
Ms. Stone, what was your idea of a percentage?
I'm the newest member of this board, so I don't think I'm the one qualified to set the numbers, but I just thought 15% over 2 years, I wish I could get that. But, I'm not getting that, so I'm just kinda looking at the average person. I don't think the average citizen out here's got a 15% over the last 2 years. So I'm like Mr. Howard, I wanna keep it in stewardship with their constituents of what they think would be appropriate of a raise over 2 years. And, I don't know, but like you say, the 6%, and then you got that 2% figured in, but somebody else, probably needs to throw that number around, and I'll see if I can get with it, but.
So,
Say one more thing.
sure, while I look this up.
I just want to note, again, thank you, board, for even considering this, and I understand the number, as you talk about 15% over the past 2 years, certainly that's a big jump. Again, I could argue that the salary that I'm at for the job that I'm doing in this region and in this state is not comparable to where it is across the state. Like I said, the average salary in this region, and you have to throw in, there's some big cities, there's some Nashville and Murfreesboro in there, but that average is I think about $158,000 a year, and so I'm certainly not proposing that. But I will say that I started at a very low salary for this job because the board felt like at that time that I maybe didn't have the experience that maybe they were looking for. So I started very low. So, you're talking about a 15% raise over 2 years, that's a lot, but you're not talking about it's 15% on a lower salary than probably what it should be according to the data. But one thing I want to say is that I'll be entering in my final year of this contract. So if something's not done this year, then perhaps this time next year is the time to have that discussion as we enter into an entirely new contract. And if the board so chooses to renew my contract. So that might be an opportunity for the board if this time next year that you wanted to do something more significant or substantial, that would be a time to have that discussion. So just wanted to make that notation. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the offer. So, Ms. Stone, you said.
Mr. Chairman, I think if we, just make the amendment, last year, just kind of amend the motion of what we did last year. I feel that, last year was fair. We should do the same thing this year.
So, I'm showing a 6.3 increase
From last year.
from
That's
last
what
year. Last year was, so I would consider then, based on this discussion, then amending my motion to make that increase 6.3% to the director's salary for this upcoming fiscal year, beginning July 1st, 2023. So I'll amend that motion. So I guess my amended motion would need a second.
Second, your amended motion?
Okay, so amended motion has a second.
Now we can have discussion.
Any other discussion on that proposed increase? Mr. Hickey?
I'm good.
Ms. Hayson? Ms. Stone? Mr. Howard?
I'm sorry, Mr. Young, I won't support it. Even was paying $20,000 and the community didn't like that, would be overpaying. And I'm not saying, I'm not comparing him with other communities, I'm not comparing him with anything, I'm just comparing him to the job that I see this last year of all the problems that there was. So I won't support it.
Okay, well, we certainly respect that, Mr. Howard. Okay, so everyone's had a chance to discuss, so we'll do roll call vote, starting with Ms. Haston. Ms. Haston votes yes. Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
No.
Ms.
No.
Stone?
No.
And Mr. Young? I would vote yes. So, motion passes. So,
Beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman? That was a 3-2 vote.
Okay. So we got, so is there a policy on, okay, could you point that out for us?
We still need 4 positive votes to pass a motion.
Okay.
This being your
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. Since Mr. McDonald's not here to keep me straight, I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so that motion fails for lack of votes. So we'll move on then to approving the Fund 141 General Purpose School Fund. So last time for discussions on the fund before we take a vote. Mr. Hickey?
I'm good.
Ms. Haston?
Yes.
No, I said, do you have any other things to discuss?
You were asking.
What are we discussing?
Do you have any other questions on the general purpose fund? Mr. Howard?
Same thing as always, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. All right, have none either. So at this time, entertain a motion for approval of Fund 141, General Purpose School Fund, budget as presented. Okay, I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Hickey. Opportunity for this final discussion, then we'll take roll call vote. Okay, we'll start with Ms. Haston.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Pass.
Ms. Stone.
Yes.
And Mr. Young. Yes. So we do have 4 votes on that. So general purpose school fund budget has been passed, and that will go to the county commission for their final approval. Next we have is our school nutrition fund. Cafeteria budget, Fund 143. That was presented to us for last week, and again, this is highly federally funded on that, and so these are estimated revenues. We've been given a breakdown of what revenues we receive from lunch payments and all cart sales and various incomes there. Have some local revenues, and then the state of Tennessee, which lightly funds this budget, but the bulk of that's coming through our federal funds, and we would start seeing those, we expect, sometime in the next couple months. So there'll be more budget amendments, but you know going in what the budget is proposed. That is a proposed budget of $3,447,681. Of proposed expenses with going in estimated revenues of $3,179,000. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the Fund 143 Central Cafeteria budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, ending June 30th, 2024.
All right.
Motion by Ms. Haston. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Stone. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, have a roll call vote. Ms. Haston? Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Stone?
Yes.
And Shion will vote yes as well. So central cafeteria budget will pass, and then that would go also to the county for final approval. Okay, so that completes our approval of the proposed budgets. So next on our agenda is announcements. And next regular board meeting will be June 15th at 6 o'clock here at the Board of Education. Committee meetings will start at 5:30. This is a slight change. It will start at 5:30 due to Mr. McDonald chairing that we wanted to give him some latitude to get here from his work. So that will be at 5:30, and then the regular board meeting will be at 6. So at this time, the last thing we have on our agenda is adjournment, so at this time I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Haston, have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Howard. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you, Mr. Hickey, for joining remotely.
Thank you.
All right.